Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan's Israel Film Center Festival. Thank you so much for joining us for this very special Q&A for the film Honeymood. Last night, we screened a sold-out screening to an audience in person. It was supposed to be on the JCC rooftop, but due to rain, it was switched to the gym, actually. So for those of you who missed that, it is also, of course, available virtually this week with limited tickets left. So tell your friends and join us. Tomorrow we have another Q&A for the film Kiss Me Kosher. So if you haven't seen that comedy yet, please enjoy that one. The films are here with us for another week. All the films from the festival, please check them all out. Even Sublet is still available and playing at Quad Cinema. And on the 25th, I believe, we'll also, this Friday, we'll start streaming our final film, Asya. So please join us for that. We want to thank all of our partners, but I want to give an especially huge thanks to the Israeli consulate and to the Consul General here in New York, and the Department of Cultural Affairs, who have been amazing partners with us throughout all these years and have given us amazing support, and we could not do it without them. And we're proud to have here today to moderate the conversation their director of film, Daniel Susz. Daniel, thank you so much for being here. And he's going to be in conversation with the director of the film, who I see now signed in from her cell phone, but is still muted. She could unmute. Talya Lavie. We're excited to have Talya back with us, as we had, of course, her first film, Zero Motivation, screened at the JCC, and was one of my favorite films of that year. And now she's back with Honeymood, which I'll hand things over to Daniel. I'll say to our audience, folks, if you have any questions, please be a part of this conversation. Please place your questions in the chat. And after Daniel is finished with his part of the interview, we'll call you online and ask you to ask your questions live. So place them in the chat to let us know that you have those questions, and we would love to hear from you. I mentioned, I'll just throw in the one thing for Talya. I mentioned last night during the introduction that in many ways I felt that this film has much cinematic inspiration, and more so than many films that actually you see out of Israel, and plays into some genres very nicely. So with that in mind, I hand things over to Daniel. Daniel, thank you.
Thank you very much, Isaac. It's great to be here, and it's great to be a part of this wonderful festival. It always is wonderful, and I think that this year's small but very high quality selection is exactly that. And I'm especially excited to be speaking to Talya Lavie. Hi, Talya.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good. I had some technical issues here with the computer, and I managed to connect somehow through the cell phone.
Yeah. No, this is great. I think you're sounding good, and yeah, this is great. So I'll start off by saying that I love the film. I watched it this weekend, and I was looking forward to watching this for a long time, as many people were. And I think it's a beautifully crafted film, and it's as I think Isaac said, it's bursting with the love of cinema, and it's unique. And so I'm really happy to have this opportunity to speak to you about the film, and I'm sure that the audience is too. I think I'll start off by saying that I think the way this film kind of works as a romantic comedy is really interesting. I think it explores conflicts in relationships and questions like the importance of initial passion in initiating a relationship, and a lot of I think in a lot of ways it deals with love and relationships in a way that's more ambivalent than we're usually used to seeing in romantic comedies. And I remember that when Zero Motivation came out, you were speaking about the fact that you were the goal you went out with was to make a war film about non-combatant female soldiers, right? And I was wondering if, in this case, you were trying to make a non-romantic romantic comedy, or what? How do you see the romanticism in this romantic comedy?
Well, so first, I really like the way you described it as a non-romantic romantic comedy, and well, yeah, I think that the film is about not as much about relationship as much as it's about what we think relationship should look like. And the main factory that creates for us the image of love and relationship is the cinema. So it is romantic in a way. It really reflects to cinema because you really think of I mean, all our idea of how we should feel when we finally find our loved one comes from movies that we've seen, and so many happy ends are so many films. Happy end is a wedding, or the idea of a wedding, the decision to get married or to be together. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm still not used to speak English. So it's like I said, it's about the image of love as much as it's about love itself.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, I think I know that as much as you're a filmmaker, you're also a big film lover, right? And a film buff, and it's very apparent in this film that you are, as you just said, you are talking about cinema as much as you're talking about relationships. And I was wondering if you were able to share a bit about the the inspirations and the films you were thinking about when you were making this film.
Yeah. So first, my inspiration, like you said before, it's a genre movie in a way because it refers to the one night genre. So of course I really was inspired by After Hours, and my favorite directors are Fellini and Woody Allen, if it's still okay to say that. I don't know. I still like his films, and also I was very inspired by those really old American romantic comedies from like the 50s. That's even in the way that we created the characters and the way we used the light and the soft light on the characters, and how do you say, like a promised where the people really how do you say, like blurry in a way. Especially in the interiors of the films. So we used a lot of sorry, my it is very much inspired from cinema, and it is also a love, shows a film that is a kind of a love poem to cinema.
Yeah. Maybe this ties up a bit with what you said about the inspiration from Woody Allen too, but I think that I'm interested about a bit about the casting process for this film. So I mean, you have two really great characters that are, let's say, difficult people. At least they're difficult people. I'm sure they were difficult on the paper, and it's an interesting, I think, challenge for actors to kind of work with this kind of material and to still make them empathetic and interesting and characters that we can relate to. And so I'm wondering what drove you to cast Avigila and Ran Danker, what you found in these specific actors that made this work.
Okay. So first I'll say that about the fact that they are difficult people, that it's always I always take it as a challenge to write difficult characters, because I find it more interesting to show people the way that behaving in the way that nobody wants to, others to know that they behave this way, with his, when he's not around other people, but sometimes we are the meanest to the closest people. So that's about the writing of the characters. And about the casting, we auditioned. I worked with the casting director, Orit Azulai, and we auditioned many actors and actresses. And we not only that we tried to find the right actors, but we also tried to find the right match. And Avigail and Ran, both of them are really fantastic actors. Avigail is more known to the theater audience, and Ran is a very well-known movie star and musician in Israel. And we especially, not only that we really liked both of them, we really liked the chemistry between them, because in a way they match and they don't match. So in a way, you want them to be together, but you think that maybe they don't match. So we wanted both elements to be together.
Right. Yeah, and that tension is very apparent, I think, in the film, in the viewing of the film, and that question of do they or don't they match? And yeah, it definitely comes through. I love that the MacGuffin in this film, the vehicle that initiates the narrative, is a ring that it's a ring, right, which is kind of like a classic MacGuffin, but it's not one that needs to be found, and it's not one that belongs to the protagonist. It is one that needs to be returned, and to get rid of. And I think it's a really, really smart decision, and it really encompasses that kind of the way you turn this genre on its head in this film. I'm wondering if this idea is something you started with. Is this like the inspiration that you went out of, or is this just something you came into while you were, writing the film, creating the film?
Well, it's a good question. I think that it was not when I started writing it. It was, I really wanted them to start fighting over a really small thing. That it will start from a really tiny, small thing, and my original idea is that I remember once, that my mom told me many years ago that in the wedding of her and my father, his ex-girlfriend was there, and that she saw her when they were in the chuppah, that she saw her looking at her, and she asked herself, why did he have to invite her? And so I don't know, it's stuck in my mind somehow. I guess that I remembered it, and I like this idea that the way we live as secular people, we sometimes stay in touch with our ex partners, and it's not very strange that you would ask your ex-girlfriend to your wedding. It's not so bizarre. It's something that could happen. So I like this idea that she was there, and that seemingly it's okay, but it's not okay. And that's how I got the idea of her giving him a ring, which is a very small thing, but very, outrageous. And also that the groom is trying to avoid fights. So he didn't tell her what the ring was all about. So it's a small thing, but it's a big thing. And it's a good MacGuffin, like you said.
Nice. I was, first, just associatively, I have to mention that another beautiful film from recent years that has a ring as a MacGuffin and is about a city in Israel is Afterthought by Elad Keidan. And that thought popped to my mind while I was...
I think it's an earring. It was an earring.
Okay, a piece of jewelry. Okay.
But it was beautiful there. Yeah, right.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, that film is about Haifa. Your film is about Jerusalem, and it portrays Jerusalem in a very unique way, in a very diverse way. It shows so many facets of the city. I mean, if it's the religious visitors in the hotel in the beginning, but then you get kind of nightlife Jerusalem, and then the prime minister's house with that amazing scene, and you go to Noam's parents' house and the student apartments, which I imagine are in the Nachlaot, but I'm not very good in Jerusalem geography. Oh, good, okay. And Sam Spiegel, of course. So the film school that you went to, which has a beautiful homage in the film, and the last part is also very, very strong. I think when the film ends in that daylight Jerusalem and that kind of grittier version, very real Jerusalem, and it's as if we land back into reality in the end of the film with that scene. But the question is, I mean, obviously this is a film about Jerusalem. I'm wondering what makes this story a story that needs to happen in Jerusalem, or maybe this story can happen in Tel Aviv or in Haifa or anywhere else.
Well, first, I'll be honest. I think it could happen, in other places. But there is something special in Jerusalem, and I say it, as a person who lived there 8 years, that for me, because I was there in the years of when I was a student, in my 20-something years, that for me it's a very romantic city. This is how in a way I experienced it, also in a very bubblish way, because I went to Bezalel Art Academy for 2 years, and then I left it and I went to film school. And so my world there was like a very small bubble of students like me to other, unnecessary professions. I don't know how to say it, like all the art students are where you have the theater school there, and you have I don't know how to say the other kind of theater, Teatron Chazuti. And then there's another art school.
Performance art, yeah.
Yeah, performance art, yeah. Performance art school and acting school, and maybe even 2 or film school, and of course Bezalel, the very big art academy. So it's a little community of these art students that live in their own bubble, and they have their own scene, like you said. And in a way you could live there, even though we lived there in very, very dark years of the second Intifada. We were totally, besides the things that the surround, you can sometimes, be in your own bubble. And I wanted to show this Jerusalem, not try to show it, as a universe, as the holy city, but as the way I really experienced it, or the way I wanted to see it as a 20-something year old person.
Yeah. So this came as your second film, right after Zero Motivation, and Zero Motivation, of course, was a huge success, and I imagine that at that point, all the options are open, and this is a situation that it's a great situation to be in as a filmmaker. Was this always going to be the next project? I mean, did you always know that after Zero Motivation, the next film in line is Honeymood?
No, actually, no. I started working on another project that I was actually planned to shoot in New York, about an Israeli guy living in New York City trying to be a successful musician. So that's the script that I wrote, and I started working on it. And then when I started, I worked on it. It's also an adaptation of Shalom Aleichem short stories. And it's kind of a big project. And in a certain point, I had a feeling that it's a very big project. It's going to take a long time. And then a very good friend reminded me this script that I was working on a long time, even before Zero Motivation. And I said, I should read it again and see if I could maybe I'll go straight to the third film when you have, the second film issue. So that's what I mean. I still want to do this other project in New York City, which, by the way, New York City is my favorite place. I really miss going there. And I wanted to shoot this film in Brooklyn, and I still want to do it. But I thought it was a good idea to do the third film right after the first one, and yeah, it wasn't the first project, but this project was I wrote it as a short story at the beginning, and I wrote it before Zero Motivation, when I was actually a student in Jerusalem.
So first of all, I'm sure that everyone is very, very intrigued about your New York film, and whenever you come shooting, you can stay at our places, and when you screen the film, I'm sure we all want to watch it. So maybe my last question before I turn it back to Isaac, and we'll get some questions from the audience, is about the name of the film. It's a completely different name from the one in Hebrew, right? It's called Echad Balev in Hebrew, which, how would you directly translate Echad Balev to English? Did you try to do that?
No, I didn't, because you know, I think the translation has to bring the essence of what you're trying to say. And Echad Balev is like a part of a say, said Echad Bapeh, Echad Balev, like one in your heart, one in your mouth. So one thing that you feel, one thing that you said. So, and half of it could be like really one in my heart, or that it's, you know, applies to the fact that I mean that it's not really one. And when also Zero Motivation, by the way, is a different title in Hebrew. It's different, but it has the same spirit. I try to think like what if it was written in English to begin with? What would be the good title for it? And I just came up with Honeymood. I'm not an English native speaker, as you could have noticed probably. I learned all my English from watching American TV and movies. And I thought that Honeymood, I kind of liked it. I don't know what it sounds like to, you know, to native English speaker, but I thought it's nice. I liked it.
We'll have to ask the audience that, but to me it sounds great. Talya, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure to speak to you about this film, and
thank you.
I'm very excited towards your next work.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thank you, Danielle. We have a couple of questions from the audience, folks. If you do have more questions, please put them in the chat, and we will bring you online to ask them live. I'll add to the Honeymood. I think Honeymood is a great title. The only problem with it is that my autocorrect always corrects it to Honeymood, and I'm like, no, mood. We're going to start off with our own supporter of the program, Carole Zabar. Carole, you are on the line. Carole, are you with us?
Carole? Yes.
Carole.
Did you think of casting Dana Igvi in the lead role?
Well, yes, I actually did. I think it did occur in my mind. I love Dana Ivgi. She's a person and an actress that I love so much. But it was not even an option because she was pregnant at the time that we shot the film. I was pregnant too, by the way. We gave birth almost at the same time, but the only thing is that as a director, I could be pregnant. I'm not the one being shot, and she couldn't do a bride with this, you know, situation.
And Dana, of course, played the lead in Zero Motivation.
Yeah,
an award-winning Israeli actress. Next question is from Shiri. Shiri, you're on the air.
Hi, Talya. Thank you. Toda.
Hi.
Hi. I love the film. I watched it yesterday, and I was not in person. I'm in Connecticut and not in New York. And it was one of the highlights of my week. So thank you for that. Two questions. I want to talk a little bit about the ending, but before that, there is a little bit of a fascination with suicide in your films. I mean, obviously in Zero Motivations, where the suicide of the non-soldier, I guess, impel or kind of motivates the narrative. Here, it sort of ends it, and you chose, thank you for that, to end it with a non-suicide. I mean, she jumps, but then, you know, she will just go back to the mental institution. Why is it there, and how does it function? I'm curious.
Well, first, thank you so much. I'm very happy to hear that. And I mean, the fact that it was the highlight of the week, not about suicide. And well, about this character, well, so first, it was a character that I really liked writing, and this nurse that is actually not a nurse anymore, and her role is to be, you know, the character of Noam, of the groom, is a person that I wanted to show that he falls in love all the time, and that if he breaks up from the bride, then he will immediately be with somebody else, because he's a person who's never alone. And he falls in love immediately with this nurse, and something about her is so touches him so much. But you know, when it's too good to be true, then it's not true. And that's why I wanted her to be something that she's not. And I'm very attracted to people who have this kind of I don't know how to say it, not lunatic, but something that they are like above reality in a way, in their minds.
Thank you. We have one more question from Miranda. Miranda, you're on.
Hello. So I noticed your films have a very absurdist sense of humor. Like there's this element of relatability, but also this very unique, over the top and dark quality. And I was wondering what has inspired like the sense of humor that you use in your films, and also like how these like scenarios come in your head about like, oh, this is a scene that I want to write and that I want to play around with.
Okay. First, thank you. I'm very excited to hear that. Well, my inspiration, you know, I just happened to I think my biggest inspiration is like when I was a kid, I really liked watching I think I really liked watching comedies. My favorite, I just remembered because I was abroad not so long ago, and then I opened the television. I was alone, and I opened the TV at night, and there was an episode of Faulty Tower. How do you say that?
Faulty Towers, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, and there was an episode, and I saw it in this hotel at night, and I remember it by heart because I saw this TV show so many times, and I saw it now after so many years, and I said, wow, it's so perfect. Everything about it is perfect. And so I guess the things that I really liked watching as a kid inspired me most because they're like, you know, they go into your blood without you noticing. And I really liked Monty Python too. I liked them before I understood them. I mean, I liked it before I really understood how smart it is, because I just thought it was funny. So that's like just two things that I remember how much I was influenced and inspired by, even though I don't think that my work really, you know, is as funny and as Monty Python, but I think that they're also very spiritual, and I mean the things that their films and serious too, you know. So and about ideas, I write ideas all the time, and also this film started as a short story that I wrote. Yeah, I just write ideas, and I guess I look at that I developed a way of looking at situations in my life with this outdoor eye. How do you say that? With looking from outside about many things. I don't know.
Thank you, Talya. I'll just ask one last question. The film, of course, was premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival last year, which happened in a virtual format ultimately. What are the plans for the film? When can more people see it? Has it premiered in Israel already?
Well, first I have to say that it was selected to Tribeca Film Festival, or we didn't go online. We didn't do the online version because we really thought that this pandemic thing will be over really soon back then. We thought that it's going to be a 2-month thing. We were naive, and also now we don't know what's next for us. I really hope that we're going to, to be done with the pandemic, but it happens all the time. The film is about to be premiered in Israel really soon, and it's going to be released in July 22 to the theaters in Israel. So we're actually right now preparing to premiere it. It's participated in some film festivals before, but it's one of the films that got the pandemic right when it was about to be released, and I hope it will survive it.
I look forward. I think it was really important to us. We showed this both virtually and in person. It was really important, and I'll give credit also to your sales agents who kind of pushed to do in person as well. And I think it just plays so well with an audience. I don't know if you've gotten to see it with an audience, but yeah, the laughter last night, it was really intoxicating. And we'll be happy to bring it back when the time is right. And folks, it's also available virtually this week. So tell your friends, really limited tickets available. And I'll also note tomorrow, again, we have the conversation at 1 p.m. of Kiss Me Kosher, another Israeli comedy. And then tomorrow night in person, Kelsey Grammer will be on the JCC rooftop. So please join us for that and tell your friends to join us there. I want to give a big thank you to the Israeli consulate once again, and to Daniel for leading this conversation. Thank you, Daniel. And Talya, thank you so much for the film. And we look forward to your next projects as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us, folks. Thanks for being a part of this conversation. And more Israeli films coming your way and more programs throughout the summer. We will see you soon, hopefully in person as well. Take care.